Welcome back. In the previous video, we took care of setting our slot index when we add an inventory item to the array, and we also took care of setting the item state when we want to set it to picked up, and that's when we're adding a weapon to the array that we're not equipping. In this video, we want to take care of showing on our inventory bar which item is equipped by raising it up a little bit with a little bit of a widget animation. Now, as soon as we equip an item, we need to know which slot the previously equipped item was on, and we also need to know the slot number for the inventory slot that we're equipping. So we need to know two pieces of information, and that's going to be sent from C++, and we need to pick it up on the inventory bar. And we can do that with something called a delegate. So we're going to create a delegate so we can send that information. So we're going to go into shooterCharacter.h and go all the way up to the top. And here is where we're going to declare a new delegate. Now we're going to make the following macro call. Declare dynamic multicast delegate to params. And this is how we create a delegate. First, we need to create a name for the delegate, and it's going to be f equip item delegate. And we need to specify what the types and names are for the two parameters that we want to send to our inventory bar widget. They're going to be int32s. So we say int32, comma, followed by the parameter name, and we're going to call this current slot index. Next, we'll have another int32, and we're going to call this one new slot index. So we're declaring a new delegate, and the delegate will have two int32 parameters, current slot index and new slot index. Now we need to create a variable of this type f equip item delegate. So we're going to create a new private variable. So down at the bottom of the private variables, we're going to create a new f equip item delegate, and I'm just going to call it equip item delegate. Now, this is going to be a delegate, which means it's going to be a mechanism that we use to broadcast information that can be picked up on another class, such as the widget blueprint. Now, to make this assignable in blueprints, we're going to use a blueprint assignable keyword, and we're going to give this a category of delegates. And I'm going to give this the meta allow private access equals true specifier. So for the comment for this, we're going to say delegate for sending slot information to inventory bar when equipping. And we're going to broadcast this when we equip a weapon. And I wouldn't worry about this IntelliSense error. That'll go away when we close out and restart it next time. So let's work on when we broadcast the delegate. Let's go into shooterCharacter.cpp and go into equip weapon. So here in equip weapon, we're setting our equipped weapon equal to weapon to equip. And then we're setting its item state. So when we do this, we need to check our currently equipped weapon for its slot index, and then we need to get our new weapon's slot index. And we need to send that information to our inventory bar so that we can know which icons to elevate or lower depending on the equipped weapon. So before we set equipped weapon, we're going to broadcast this information. And what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the currently equipped weapon, before we set it to the new weapon, is null. That means we don't have a currently equipped weapon yet. So we'll have a if and an else case. And this should say equipped weapon, actually. So what we're going to send for the current slot index is -1 if no equipped weapon yet. So we're going to say no equipped weapon yet. No need to reverse the icon animation. And we're simply going to get our equip item delegate and we're going to call a function on it called broadcast. Now this takes the two int parameters, the current slot index for our currently equipped weapon and the new slot index. Now in this case we don't have an equipped weapon yet, so we're going to say -1 is the slot index for when we don't have a current slot index for the equipped weapon. And for the new slot index, it's going to be this weapon to equip slot index, and that's going to be get slot index. Remember, weapon to equip is this parameter here in equip weapon. It's the new weapon. But if we already do have a weapon, then we can simply pass that information. We're going to say equip item delegate, broadcast, and we're going to get our equipped weapon slot index. So equipped weapon, get slot index. And for the new weapon, we're going to get weapon to equip, and we're going to get slot index for that. So essentially what we're doing is we're using this delegate, and once we set up the inventory bar to listen to this delegate, it will then receive the slot index for the currently equipped weapon and the new weapon we're about to equip. And we're doing this before we equip our weapon, and our inventory bar will pick that up. So how do we set it to pick that up? Well, let's go ahead and compile this first, and then we'll hop into the editor and we can bind functionality to this delegate in inventory bar. So let's go back into inventory bar and go to the event graph, and here's our event construct. There goes our compile. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the shooter character. So we're going to add a variable, and we're going to call this shooter character. And this will be of type shooter character BP, and in event construct, we're simply going to get player pawn. And we can use the cast to shooter character BP for this. And once we've cast it, then we can set our variable. So set shooter character, and now we have our shooter character. Now, once we have our shooter character, we can bind the delegate. And we can access it from shooter character by dragging off and typing the name of that delegate, and it's equip item delegate. Now we want to bind an event to this, and so if we select bind, we get a bind event to equip item delegate, and then we can create a custom event here. So if we create a custom event, then we can stick it in here. So custom event, and we'll call this equip item event. And then we simply plug this in here. And this means that whenever this delegate gets broadcast in C++, then we'll fire off this event. Now, we could have done both of these steps at once by dragging off of shooter character, typing in equip item delegate, and using the assign selection, and that would have created an event for us. And not only would it create the event, it would also give us those input parameters that we needed when we broadcast the delegate. Now, since we created our custom event, we'll have to add those parameters here. But to save time and to show you the other way of doing it, let's delete those and drag off shooter character and type equip item delegate and select the assign option. And now you'll see that we get the bind event node and our new custom event. And we can call this equip item event, and we'll hook this up. So whenever we call broadcast in C++ and pass these values in, well, now that we've assigned and bound an event to this delegate, now when broadcast gets called, this event will fire off and we'll get that information that we passed into the broadcast function. So now we have the ability to receive that information from blueprints. So let's go ahead and conclude this video here, and in the next video we're going to use this information to create an icon animation here in inventory bar, and that will raise and lower our icons, these icons, depending on which one is being equipped. So we'll do that in the next video. I'll see you soon.